boys and girls. We're going to be talking about plants and how they're like their parents and sometimes not. And this is an okra pod. If you've ever eaten fried okra or maybe pickled okra or stewed okra or gumbo, okra is very versatile. It's very good for you. It's a slimy food, and slimy foods are real good for your cholesterol levels. That's what the seed looks like. Isn't that cool looking? It's got a little gray ball. Okay, well, I'm gonna show you one more thing. I grow okra in my little garden here at the Environmental Center, and this is a baby one. That's a baby okra plant. You see what the leaf looks like? Look at the stem. Now, Miss Ramirez has already told you about all the parts, so you know that. Now look at this. That's the roots. This is just a baby plant, but look how extensive the roots are. That's because this plant's going to grow to be about 8 feet tall. Yeah, about 8 feet tall, 7 or 8. And it's going to need a lot of anchoring in order to stand tall and make all those okra pods. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And how baby plants are like their parents. Size, color, flowers, and fruits can make a difference. So we have on this slide 2 sets of no, not pecan, pine trees. Okay, wrong part of Texas. All right, so over on the left is a baby pine tree. The roots are under the ground. You can't see them, but you can see the stalk. It's going to turn into a trunk. And look at the leaves. These leaves are called needles, and they're real spiky, and they have a good smell. But there's no pine cone on here, and it's very short. It's only about 10 inches, maybe 12 inches tall. But on the other hand, look at the parent plant. The parent plant is many tens of feet tall, taller than a house by far, but it's still green and still covered in the needles. But look what grows on the parent plant, the pine cone, and the seeds are inside the pine cone. Now that little bitty plant couldn't have this 8-inch pine cone growing on it, could it? No, the pine cone's too big. So the baby plant has to wait till it's big before it has the pine cones. Now let's look at some essential questions. Why do baby plants resemble the parent plant? And number 2, do all young plants resemble the parent plant? So we've got 2 different kinds of plants here at the bottom. We have a succulent on the left and a cacti on the right. And we're going to look at the parent plant to these 2 guys in just a few minutes. So let's go back to the okra. Do you remember what the leaf looked like that I showed you? Well, the leaf on the baby plant looks just like the leaf on the parent plant. And in the middle, we've got a beautiful mallow flower. The okra is a member of the mallow family. Other ones you might know about are the Rose of Sharon, is a lovely bush that your grandmother may have in the backyard, and also the hibiscus. Cotton is a mallow. Well, the baby plant doesn't have this big, beautiful flower. It's too little. When it grows up, it'll have it. And then on the right, you see the okra pod. Inside the okra pod are the round seeds that I showed you a minute ago. So for okra plants, the baby is similar to the parents. It's green. That's one thing, but it's little. And the okra plant, the adult one, is big. The big one has big flowers, big beautiful flowers, and also has a fruit, an okra pod with seeds in it. Now, I showed you the picture of the baby succulent. Here's the parent. The parent looks identical to the baby. They're just different in size. And in this particular case, They've got this, they look just alike. The baby's got the same traits as the parent, the same characteristics. It looks like the parent. Now here's the little cactus we saw, had the, it looks like a person with their hands up saying, go team, go. Well, look at the parent plant. Also, arms up, go team, go. They're both green. They're both covered in spines, but one big difference is the size. The baby is very little and the adult is extremely big. It's big around and it's tall. Now, when cacti become adults, they have a flower. The nopal has a yellow flower, and when the flower fades, it forms a fruit. We call the fruit the tuna or the prickly pear. Well, this big cactus, it might have a flower too. Some cacti live in a place that's so dry, they don't flower very often, maybe once every 30 years. So the baby is not going to have a flower, and sometimes the adult doesn't have one for a long time. Now, here are banana trees. Look at the banana trees on the left. They look similar to the parents. They've got big floppy leaves, but they're not very big around. A banana tree is pretty big around, and the leaves are huge and they're dark green. So those are similar. They're not identical, but they're similar. You can tell by looking at it that it's a banana tree. And look over on the far right. The adult banana tree has bananas, which are very delicious. So that's a big difference right there. Now, grasses are wonderful. Lots of food that we eat come from grasses. Corn, wheat, oats, um, rice, those are all grasses. And when it's a little baby, it just looks like a grass over there on the left. But when it's an adult, it's going to look different. This is a type of grass called sorghum. And we use a lot of sorghum. We grow a lot of sorghum here in Texas. We call it, sometimes we call it Milo. And the stalks have a juice in them that when we cook it, it makes into syrup. So that's sorghum. Now, let's talk about some activities you can do at home. Find a plant at home, at school, or at the park. What color is the plant? How tall is the plant? Draw a figure of the plant and color it. Show it to your teacher. This is a good time to discuss with your teacher what the plant may have looked like when it was a baby. Now make sure you do these activities. You have an adult with you. And on this page are the plants Ms. Nash was talking to you about, the very ancient ferns. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to show you something that I think you'll like. This is a packet of the seeds of the sorghum that I showed you growing in the field. Just looks little and round and red. And after the farmers cut the canes, they can squeeze the juice out and cook it and make sorghum syrup. And this tastes real good on your biscuits or your waffles. It's very nice. All right.